I say, if you feel like a zap of electricity going through you, then I'm going to be here and celebrate, say, yes, we opened up a major channel. And some people will feel it and some people won't. But it doesn't matter. It still is working. It all depends on your level of sensitivity. So it really does feel like an electrical zap. It's quite irritating, but you know it's working.
Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, Savannah family. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. Today, we're talking about reflexology, which I've always wanted to learn more about. So I'm so excited to have our guest today, Helen Chin Lui. She is a certified reflexologist, certified energy medicine practitioner, and a certified Reiki practitioner. She owns a studio called The Healing Place in Massachusetts, and she's been practicing professional energy healing since 2006. Helen has more than 1,000 specialized hours in reflexology. She's also the author of a new book, Know Your Chakras, Introduction to Energy Medicine, which we're going to talk about in a different episode. So I'm super excited to welcome her to the show. We're going to go over what's the difference between acupuncture and reflexology. That's something I've always been really curious about, and why would you choose one healing modality over the other? And do your organs really map to your feet? Is reflexology like a foot massage, or is there a lot more going on? We're going to answer all those questions in today's show. Before we dive into everything, I just want to remind you of the ways you can support the show. The first way is by leaving a rating or review here on iTunes. And I'm doing the thing again where if you screenshot your review and email it into my team, info@brettlarkin.com, I'll respond with my favorite affirmations and journaling prompts in this beautiful PDF free booklet for you to have. So take advantage of that. I'm really excited to share that booklet with you. And there's instructions on how to do that in the description of the podcast if you want to read it over. And then the second way is to make a purchase on SavannahSpirit.com. Savannah Spirit offers so much to support your yoga practice at home: crystals, jewelry, beautiful yoga clothing, and you can use that coupon code TAKE25 as a new customer for $25 off anything in your shopping cart. So grab something. It's not too early to start thinking about Valentine's Day. Treat yourself or get something for someone you love. And now let's dive into today's episode with Helen. Helen, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Brett, for having me. I've been looking forward to our conversation for ages now.
Good. I know. I've been excited too. I've seen you on my calendar. And why don't you start off by telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in reflexology? And then we're going to go into what reflexology is because I have so many questions.
Well, who am I? I am I would say 64-year-old person who got into the healing business late in life. I am certified in energy medicine and also as a reflexologist. I'm also a Reiki practitioner, a master, and a teacher. So I combine all of this knowledge to help people who are seeking help in terms of, my specialty is people with digestive issues, chronic pain, and they want their hormones to be balanced naturally. So those are the people I pair to attract. And I just love it because I could work with babies to elderly people and all the people in between. And I've been doing this since 2006 at the Healing Place. And I'm located in Medfield, Massachusetts. And because I love to teach so much, I've spun off from the hands-on business. I'll now have an online school called the Healing Place Energy School. And it's for anyone who has an interest in learning how to self-heal, self-care, and learning about one's own energy so we don't feel like we get sucked into a negative pattern and we could actually break out of it and feel good about who we are and what we do every single day.
So you said you came to this late in life. So I'm imagining there was a catalyst or some kind of major event that started you down this path. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, way back when, first of all, I have two adult children. My son, when he was a small boy, was sick for, I would say, 15 years of his life. At the time, the only choices we had with healing were medication. If something didn't work, we would jump from medication to find what may be the right combination. And unfortunately, the medication made him feel worse instead of better. And again, I'm not saying that traditional medicine does not have its place in our world, but I rather it not be our only choice. And back then, back in the 80s, I used to spend a lot of time praying, how can I help my son without making him feel worse through the regimen we were under? And slowly, the universe, God, started to send people to me. And it started off with a Reiki person who basically started teaching me about alternative laying of the hands. Let's call it what it is, laying of the hands and taking our own energy and actually utilize it for our health, for our emotional well-being, and to connect to our spirit. And then from there, I went into reflexology and then on to being certified for energy medicine. And all the knowledge that I have accumulated on that journey, I was thinking to myself, there must be other people who are more or less in the same situation. And why not help them? And so I'm being guided. I really felt I was being guided to was my new avocation. And at the time, I was working as a traditional job as an office manager. And the light bulb went off in my head and said, Helen, it's time for you to leave and start a new life. Here I am at the age of 52 going, okay, I could do this. And when I opened the door to the Healing Place back in 2006, absolutely no one knew what I did for work. So I spent probably years explaining what is alternative healing and teaching a little bit. And slowly I made a name for myself in my area by helping, I would say, a tremendous amount of people come into my door looking for help. And I teach everybody a combination of reflexology and energy medicine so they start to understand why the stagnant energy, why do they not feel well? And I'm just so pleased, Brett, that I have come such a long way in a short amount of time. And I'm blessed that I've been able to do it within my lifetime.
I know. I love it. I love the story. So you said something just now about stagnant energy, and I'm sure everyone who's listening probably feels a place in their body that either hurts or is in pain, or maybe there's an area of past trauma, or just a place where they feel like the circulation isn't happening. Prana or chi isn't moving, right? So yeah. So how do you kind of work with people? Can you kind of describe what is it like when someone enters your door and talks about a physical ailment, and then what are you seeing or sensing? And then how does reflexology work?
Wow, let's see how many of those questions I'll remember. Well, first of all, I have found every single ailment. So I do primarily digestive issues, chronic pain, and hormonal. And those the energy traits that's associated with the illness is very distinct. In fact, I was telling somebody today that everybody who comes in with a digestive issues, energetically and personality, they all have the same personality trait. They are primarily people who are caregivers. They are the rescuers in their family. They absorb everybody's problems like as though it's their own. Who are those people? The nurses, teachers, anyone who has a job as a caregiver, moms. As soon as I hear that they have digestive issues, I start to talk about their pains, their emotional pains and their physical pain. And one of the things that I try to teach them along with the reflexology, to not only to help them to rebalance the energy in the body, but to understand what are their boundaries? What are they willing to make changes in their life so they start to recognize their own energetic patterns? Because the way I work with people, I always tell them, this is not about addiction. It's not about you coming in and I'm working on your feet and pressing on pressure pressure points to reset you. And I'm very passionate about teaching people. In order to break this cycle, you need to know and understand what goes on within your energy flow within and understand your chi. Because if you don't understand what's going on in you, you won't. I'll be the one that will help you break the pattern. And this is not what this means to me. What it means to me is you understand what's going on and you'll have the tools to say, aha, this is what's going on in my life. And what am I going to do about it? So it's about empowering you to awaken your inner healer and not be a victim and give away your healing powers to somebody else. It's really about how to reclaim who you are without feeling you're entitled. Well, maybe you are entitled. You are you after all. So it's a huge discovery path that I take everyone on once they start to understand who they are. And the day that they no longer come through my door, I have succeeded. They're in a place that they could take care of themselves and they are empowered with their own ability to make choices and not feel like a victim where the cycle just constantly repeats.
I love it. So tell us a little bit more at the more basic level about reflexology and how it works. So you mentioned qi. So reflexology is rooted in the Chinese medicine system, correct?
Yep, it's Chinese and it's also in the Egyptian medicine system. So these are ancient healing modalities that goes back 5,000 years. And one of the things that I love about the reflexology is so simple. First of all, at the bottom of your feet, there's more than 15,000 nerve endings. So I work with the feet, hands, again, in the palm, the nerve endings, you have around 10,000. You could do face reflexology, ear reflexology. There's also such thing as body reflexology. And what makes reflexology different is that the pressure points works directly with the organs and glands, and it works with every single function of the body. Because the way I was trained, we work with every single body system because no one body system can work independently. So as one system is being stimulated, it's awakening all of these senses through your peripheral nerves, up the central nervous system, up to the brain. And the brain starts to recognize where are the energy imbalances. So from the brain, it starts to send thousands of messages, what I call self-correction. And it's telling this organ gland, hey, buddy, what are you doing down there? Why are you doing this? And it's basically reminding the body what to do on its own before, let's say, before medication. It's really jump-starting the motherboard and start to wake up every single system. The training that's behind this in the U.S. right now, today's standards just a 300-hour just on the foot training alone. So it's really important when people go to see a reflexologist to ask them for their credentials and understand their background, because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are pretending to be reflexologists, and all they're doing is giving you a foot rub. And especially those places that you might visit that speaks absolutely no English and not I don't want to poo-poo those people. If they do not have to respond to your question, then chances are very good they really don't know what they're doing and they're just taught by whoever owns the establishment. It basically is like a show. They start at the same moment. They're in a room full of chairs with maybe 20 people, and they start at the beginning of, let's say, 1 o'clock, and they will end at 2 o'clock. So they will replicate exactly the same movement from person to person. So these people, what they do is they're not touching anything. They're giving you a circulation massage. But coming back to the U.S. requirement of 300 hours, we have to learn anatomy, physiology. I did practice sessions, classroom sessions. I even had to do a clinical study, and then I had to write a thesis. And my thesis was on, can reflexology help to diminish or eliminate medication intake? And during that 100-person clinical session, and 5 of them had various forms of arthritis, I found that we could diminish medication, but we could not eliminate. So that's the difference between a certified reflexologist and someone that call themselves a reflexology parlor.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's helpful because, it definitely feels great to get your feet massaged, but it sounds like the work you're doing is much deeper than just that, and that you're actually personalizing each session to the whatever the person issues are, right? Whether it's digestive or something else. So can you just paint the picture for us, just because I want to make sure listeners understand that it's literally very precise points in the feet and then the hands as well, and then potentially the body if you do reflexology, but you're pressing on a point in the foot and that's stimulating the liver, for example, right?
Exactly. And because no one's organs, even though they're in the same proximity, but no one's organs and glands are exactly in the same place. So here's a great example. Somebody was saying to me, Helen, what do you think of those reflexology socks? I said, you mean those reflexology socks that stretches from a size, let's say woman 6 to a 11, a size 12? Guess what? The organs are no place that where it's indicated on the socks is where they are in your feet, because in a size 6 foot, it's not going to be the same as a size 10 foot. And so by stimulating and feeling where the organs and glands are, because that comes just from practice. And, I've done about 13,000 sessions. So more or less, I know where everything is just through feeling. And once I hit a tender spot, because people always said, how do you know this hurts? How do you know it's imbalanced? Well, I'm looking for tissue inconsistency. That's one. That's just the feeling component of my hand. Two, I'm feeling the energy flow. I could feel where the energy is stagnant. And then I also work on the feet through the chakras, through the meridian points. So I'm opening up a lot of energy pathways in the feet and the hands or the ears to start stimulating all of those points to get everybody to work together like a team.
And Helen, what are your thoughts on acupuncture? Because that's also Chinese medicine system, right? But is it like taking it a step farther? I've always been really interested on how reflexology and acupuncture either work together, or why would you do one as opposed to the other? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yes, and this is really important because since reflexology comprises of the meridian points, reflex points, acupressure points, whereas acupuncture works primarily, I would say, on the surface of the body. So it's opening, I would say, block energy on the surface. And from what I was taught, it does not work directly with the organs. So it's opening up your chi. Whereas, let's say, as we mentioned, if you have sluggishness in the digestive tract, because I work with so many people with constipation, as I'm working on the GI tract through the feet, I could even tell you exactly where the fecal matter, I could tell you where it's stuck in the foot, in your GI tract through the feet. And as I'm working with the people with constipation, and I'm like, okay, it's stuck here at the sigmoid colon. It really wants to exit, but it is just not moving. Another example is I work with somebody who has problem digesting. And what happens a lot of times, the food is not emptying out from the stomach into the small intestine. And I could feel where the stagnant energy is. And then I will, using my hands, I will manipulate that spot and move the food through the intestine, through your feet. This is how sensitive reflexology is.
And that's not really the kind of thing that you could recreate with acupuncture. Because one of the things that's always, I don't know, that I haven't loved about acupuncture is that it's so hands-off. It's like they place the needles, but then no one really touches you. So I don't know.
Think of it this way. The reason why they put in again, this is my personal observation. I don't have anyone that I could go and confirm this information with. The reason why they insert so many needles in the body, just imagine, the body is a map. Obviously, you want your energy to flow from your feet to the top of your head. So let's say in the middle of your ankle, there's the energy block. And if you notice, if the practitioner is sensitive, he or he may even could detect where there's stagnant energy. So what they do is manipulate the needles. So when they manipulate the needles, what they're doing is opening the chi, the energy in that spot. So just imagine if you have stagnant energy in your ankle and there's nothing that's running up to your thighs, your calves and your thighs, you have an energy roadblock. And if you notice, sometimes your legs will start to feel really heavy. So by opening the chi in your legs, you insert the needle and you might manipulate it. And all of a sudden you might start to feel warm. So you're opening, like, instead of detouring the energy around your ankle, now it's starting being flushed all the way up into your calves and into your thighs. So the purpose of the needle is just to manipulate the opening of energy channels. And that's the reason why you need so many of them, because you don't know where exactly the detours are. So if you look at the acupuncture map and you see where the meridian points are, that's the reason why you insert the needles. And the needles, they do their job, and the person becomes hands off, or you need to make an appointment to speak to him or her afterwards. Whereas with reflexology, I'm on the table, and as I'm feeling the person's energy flow, and even though during our intake form, I know most of the information about that person, but I won't know everything. One of the key things that I find that happens with a lot of people, they clench their teeth. So I can't put that on my intake form. Do you clench your teeth? But I can actually feel that in their feet. And they always say, how do you know that? Well, yeah, okay. Because it's right here. This is your jaw reflex point. And I could feel it clicking through your toes. So they were always amazed at how sensitive my hands are. And I was saying I'm pretty right on, probably close to 100% of the time. And the more I understand a person, I could manipulate and open up those energy blocks and start to talk to him or her about the clenching that usually happens at night. And because many of us go to bed with nervousness, and just because we're asleep doesn't mean that we're less stressed or less tense. It just gets translated to a different form of energy.
Well, it's interesting because what I feel like I hear you saying is almost like, and I'm paraphrasing, so definitely correct me, but it's almost like the acupuncture is really great for just opening the flow of energy in general in the body, or like opening the flow in the ankles, or kind of redistributing flow. But the reflexology is almost more dealing with the concrete problem or symptom that someone might have and being able to resolve and troubleshoot it in a much more specific way. That's so interesting. And then this is my next question. Sorry, but because I'm excited. I've always been curious about this. So when someone goes to acupuncture school, are the meridian maps that they're studying different from the ones that you would study at reflexology school?
Yes, and the acupuncture maps, I just find it so fascinating because I try to remember and incorporate as much as I can, because the way in reflexology, especially depending on which part of the body you're working on, like with the foot course, we just only study the feet area. So we don't necessarily do the entire body. Where in acupressure school, you need to learn the meridian point from north to south in every single component, because that's the reason why you insert so many needles. Whereas with reflexology, the nerve endings is the nerve endings is the nerve endings. That's it. So all it is stimulating those nerve endings for the information to be delivered the peripheral nerves to the central nervous system and up to the brain. So it's less invasive, and I just think it's the coolest thing, because when I'm working on people, if I hit a really good point, I always forewarn new clients. I say, if you feel like a zap of electricity going through you, then I'm going to be here celebrate, say, yes, we opened up a major channel. And some people will feel it and some people won't. But it doesn't matter. It still is working. It all depends on your level of sensitivity. So it really does feel like an electrical zap. It's quite irritating, but you know it's working.
So Helen, for people who are listening who've maybe tried acupuncture in the past but didn't feel like it worked for them, it's like you're saying they shouldn't rule out reflexology because it's more, it seems like it's just more diagnostic, and I'm visualizing like the nerves ending in the feet, and it's almost like a punch pad for dealing with really specific issues if you're working with a trained practitioner, of course.
Yes. And one of the things I always tell people people ask me, what's the difference between all the various modalities? Because let's face it, Brett, there's so many modalities, healing modalities out there now. So the example I always give people, I say, think of it as like pain relief medicine. Some people could tolerate Tylenol better than ibuprofen. Some would reach for Aleve, but they all do the same thing. It's just a matter of which one works for you. So it's going to take a little bit of experimenting to see which one you like. Not everybody likes needles. I'm going to be one of those people. I'm not fond of it. And I have had acupuncture treatments in the past. Do I love it? I found it very relaxing. And it all depends on your own personal preference. That's all it is.
No, I think that's great. It's such a good reminder. It's like there's no right or wrong. It's like we're all so unique, and different modalities are going to resonate for different people, and different modalities might resonate for different people at different points in their life, right? So that's why I always encourage my students too to just stay really open-minded, because something that, you didn't like in your 20s all of a sudden might, feel amazing and channel some really big openings for you in your 40s, right? You just don't know. So yeah, you don't know. So that's why it's so fun to experiment and try all of these things. And I'm so lucky because I get to talk to people like you and learn about it and share. So Savannah listeners, I want to let you know that Helen's actually going to come back in our next episode, and we're going to talk about all of this, but through the lens of the chakras. And you guys know how much I love the chakras, so I could not be more excited for our next conversation. So make sure to tune in to the next episode so you can hear Helen and I talk about all of this in the context of the chakra system. And let us know what you thought of this episode. Remember, the number one way you can support the show is by leaving a rating or review. Those mean so much to me. So please take a moment to leave a rating or review here on iTunes if you haven't yet done that. And of course, support Savannah Spirit. This show would not be possible without them. Remember, you can use that coupon code TAKE25 for $25 off anything in your shopping cart at savannahspirit.com as a new customer. I'm sending you so much love, and we'll connect with you in the next episode. From my heart to yours. Namaste.
You've been listening to the Savannah Podcast. To find out more about Savannah, go to savannahspirit.com or follow Savannah on Facebook at facebook.com/Savannah Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savannaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savannah Podcast.